All
right.
right. Well,
Can you do
but
something
like to
for
the
me?
audience,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
sure.
That's fine. I'm gonna drop something up on the marquee, and if you could help me out with that, and I know you might not feel super qualified to do it, but I'm looking for some genuine feedback. So you can tuck yourself back in, and I'll get this thing up as soon as I can. Let me copy this. Nazi, what's up, sis?
I'm good. I'm
Glad.
feeling a little bit of honoring the Department of Education today, so there's my PTR.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed. Is there any news that I might have missed out on?
No, I just happened to
Feel the
recently
vibe.
visit the Department of Education, and
Yeah.
you know, if it might not be around for much longer, it was is good to remember what the seal looks like. It's just trying to keep it alive.
Just vibes. Did you get a chance to actually tour the campus?
I did. I got
Um,
the whole I got a whole tour of like I think it was the third floor,
hmm,
and that's
swanky.
where they moved the IES, which is the uh, Institute of Educational Sciences, where they do the research.
Hmm.
So my understanding is I think that it used to have like the IES used to have four branches, and now it has two, I think.
Hmm.
So like one program officer that I've been communicating with, that's why I was able to get a tour with her. She used to review like two grants a week, and now she does like 22
Hmm.
grants a week. And she used to only review grants from special education, and now she reviews grants that used to be for, I think it's called um, the Center for something measurement or something like that.
Hmm.
I'll have to look it up. But yeah, they used to like have four divisions, and now that whole measurement one is like totally gone.
Mask.
Or at least the officers for it are gone.
Oh, I lost my boy Adarit. I was boy, I just lost my train of thought. I need some support actually. So Martine, I don't know if you're available because I'm probably gonna end up cooking with these folks. Would somebody please volunteer? I'm gonna call Martine's name just because I don't know why it came up for me. Can you check out that survey and let me know if it works? And if so, please fill it out so I can see if the data actually comes through. It's just a simple Google form. But to you, Nazi, maybe we can cook a little bit, and then I'll direct you over to the form as well. Um, do you think that those changes took place as a result of the Doge, um, you know,
Oh yeah,
hand?
absolutely.
Okay.
So there were the Department of Education building didn't used to hold help, the IES wasn't in there.
Hmm.
And so when they got rid of so many positions, that they kept like six people from the special education research department out of
Jeez.
like 20, I think.
Sure.
And then those people moved in to the Department of Education building. So she was still like getting used to things like where they were in the building, because they had just moved in there about, I think, a month or two ago. So still trying to just like get comfortable in there. And what? So IES, in case people don't know, it's mandated by ESSA, which is Every Student Succeeds Act,
Hmm.
and that used to be No Child Left Behind. So
Right.
during Obama's presidency, uh, No Child Left Behind became ESSA because they realized that while it was important to collect data and through state testing and that kind of thing, what they really needed was evidence based research. And so the ESSA actually gives you an outline of definitions or descriptions of how of like ratings of how much evidence there is to research. So there's like research based, there's like quasi, and then there's like evidence. So the evidence ones, like, they have level 4, level 3, level 2. So you have sort of a ranking
Hmm.
of the research, and these are usually for interventions for what works in terms of instruction for kids, but now they're trying to transition that not just be for interventions for what works for kids, because now we realize that we have a lot of information about what works, but we just don't know like how to get it into people's hands and help them to implement it. So now the focus is more on teacher training and disseminating the research information.
Right.
And this all comes at a time when there's a big problem with teacher shortages, a lack of teacher training, um, certification. Even a lot of districts still don't have a big number of their teachers that are not certified, fully
Sure.
certified.
In the area that they're supposed to teach as
Right,
well. I get it.
exactly. And they're
Yeah.
in like on emergency certifications,
Hmm.
a lot of alternate certifications. So I think it was like 36% of people in Texas are not
Properly.
not certified even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, a couple things. Number one, and I'll pass it right to you, Laquita. Tell them about Educator's House. I'm here to spread the word for a fee. But secondly, and now might be a good time if I could direct your attention to the Strengthening the House Google survey. It should only take about 5 minutes, but it's a pretty straightforward click through. But some of it alludes to what you were talking about, and I would appreciate your feedback in there. I mean, it's a very early draft. I don't even think I put a spot in there for you to like leave me your email. So I need to really work on it. But everybody who's here at least is a trusted advisor, so I would appreciate it. Hey, Laquita, let me push on to you. How are you? How are you, friend?
Hey, I'm pretty good. I was just going to tell you, well, one of the things I was going to tell you is that I just completed the form and you did not ask for my email. And I was like,
Yeah,
no.
right. Let me try to slide in there while you give us an update. What are you up to? Are you class? Are you student facing? I know school's about to come up.
Oh gosh, we start work tomorrow and I've
Hi,
just been
yeah.
laying down in the bed all day. I'm even in the second bedroom. I'm like, okay, I slept in that bed for about 6 hours. Now I'm going to go to the second bedroom and just sleep. But I did want to just make mention of, let me see. She mentioned 36% of the teachers in Texas are not certified. And
Mm,
I did want to just say that in Texas, we have a plethora, all bold letters, all capitalized, of charter schools who are here. And in charter schools, teachers do not have to be certified.
mm.
And so, when we talk about data, we have to look at some of those other points that would cause a number to be higher than it would in other states and even in other school districts and such. So just be mindful of that.
It's interesting that level of like charter school flexibility, and I've had my fair share of interactions with charter schools, and I on the one hand I love the idea of experimenting and flexibility. I think that's important, especially in these paradigm shifting times. But some, ooh, I can speak about my own community. Some of these charter schools, which are like teaching kids how to, how to do the Congo drum as the like major priority, but not teaching them how to read or do math. I just wonder about some of these thematic charter schools and whether or not they're really serving our kids.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that they serve in a number of ways, but I will tell you this. The district that I'm with, because I'm in one of the charter schools, I'm back with them. When I first came to Texas, I worked with them. Then I tried other school systems, and then I came back to them. A lot of the charter schools, they actually require teachers to do like 10 million times more than what I have ever done in a non-charter schools.
Just in terms of
Like, I
like
mean,
duties and hands on deck type of things,
no, I'm
or
I'm only talking about lesson plans.
oh wow.
Yeah, like submitting lesson plans for the week 7 days earlier, and then our supervisor. Most schools, the principals, nobody ever looks at the lesson plans. They don't give feedback on it. They just come into the
Yep.
classroom whenever they feel like it to give us evaluations, which I don't
Yep.
mind evaluations, but I always score high. but
Get that dust off your
but
shoulder, girl. I got you.
yes, but the thing is that we have to do so much, and when we actually submit our 7 days of lesson plans, our direct supervisor has to look at them, then give us feedback in the well, not in the moment, but while they're looking at, it, they have to you have to like say for example, we have a Google Doc. That's how we save our lesson plans,
Hmm.
and then the we do everything. We do the student misconceptions, the answers, why it should not be the wrong answer. All of these things on here. We have to actually answer the questions. All of this is in the Google Doc on the side in the comments. But then after the appraiser comes over and looks at everything, they're going to make their suggestions, and then we have to correct those changes and before we put it in front of the students. And in most schools that are not charter schools, they don't have to do that. They might have to submit their lesson plans early, which I think most schools require that.
Right.
But it's not that extra layer of support coming from admin or whoever's looking at it. They're only looking to check a box to see which teachers did
Yep.
submit them versus who did not.
So a couple things I like to respond. I've sent down some invitations. As you guys know, this is a no pressure space, but I don't have much of an agenda. So once the conversation goes dry, to Atlas, especially Mo, Penny, thank you guys for coming into the space. I have a um, demographic and informational survey up at the top. I am currently planning out what season 5 looks like. Carla has really been on top of my neck, encouraging me to have my stuff pre-planned for good of everybody else to kind of know, especially when the school year starts, like which ones you can really come to. And so I'm working hard to make this season as responsive to your interests and your needs. So filling out that survey would be appreciated. The last question does ask for your email, so if you could drop that in there. The draft is right off the presses. Secondly, to you, Laquita, a couple things. I've been in the classroom, if I could be honest with you, girl, I've been in the classroom so long that after I got hired, I would tell my admin, look, you're not getting one out of me. So if that's going to be a big part of your evaluation at the end of the year, just know I'm not pressed. I'll take a 3.6 over a 3.9 if that's how it's got to be. Because like you, I've been around long enough to know that it is a tool, and oftentimes it can be used as a weapon by admin, right? So they don't look at it ever. It just sits in a Google Drive, unmonitored, unedited, no feedback until they do a pop-in observation, like you said, and then they're going to print out that lesson plan, and then some of the admin, God bless their souls, use it and say, well, the objective, whatever, or the this or that, whatever, so I really had to stop pressing myself. But what I did do, and I don't know, I hate to give out the cheat codes, but I would literally spend, I would, let's call it a relatively significant amount of time training my students how to be observation ready. So I would have my great personalities would know like when to lean in, and certain like generic questions that would be like DOK style, but could apply to pretty much anything, and my class clowns would already know like how to do the signal to like go to the bathroom for the next 15 minutes and come back after this is over, and we would have, it was all planned out. It was really wonderfully done, and my kids were super responsive to it, but it would certainly be a it would be a great production whenever someone came in to observe, and it was great. It was great. I love that part because the kids were on board and we all had kind of an inside cultural experience, so it was those are the good old days. So I miss all that stuff. I don't miss what you're going through right now. All of that pre-service. So I'm assuming that when you come in tomorrow, Laquita, and I'm gonna come to you next, Carla, I would appreciate it. Just as a running update, I've got 2 people who have responded so far. So if you guys are available, please check that out. I would appreciate it. The survey up at the top. You guys are going into in-service. What does pre-service look like for you? And then I'll check in with you, Carla. Yeah, go ahead.
A bunch of professional development.
Oh, the sigh says it all.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Right. Ironically, that was a big motivating factor for the creation of Educator's House. Was like the tagline for our house is advanced professional development, because I've always been of the philosophy that having whomever, random, nice enough lady from Milwaukee, or, the fired up motivational, speaker who really has no idea what goes on in the classroom, or, whomever, all of that stuff and all those meetings, like I would much rather be in my classroom, like prepping, than sitting in meeting after meeting after meeting, doing, data teams and all of that stuff. So the premise behind, the underlying mission of the house is centering the voices of us. Like we're the experts, having all these third party people come in is great, but without centering us on the front line, then I could do other things that I think are more valuable. So thank you for that. I appreciate you coming up. Anybody else who wants to come up, Sineb, Tanara, Tiara, I'm sorry, Miss Davis, you guys are welcome to come up and just chop it up. It's just a chillism room. I'm directing members of our community to the survey up top, so I would appreciate it if you could take 5 to 7 minutes and fill that out. Carla, my co-pilot over here at Educator's House. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. How are you? Greetings to the room.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm glad that you're here. So I have a version of the survey. I'm gonna work to kind of fine tune it, but I wanted to at least make something available to the community so that we can have some actual data to look at. So I hope that you're at least a little bit proud of me. Don't hurt me, ma'am. Don't put me in the corner.
Yes, I am proud of you. Please know that. So we'll look at the survey. Is there any questions? I saw a couple of things in the chat where people were suggesting. I heard email we needed to add, and then I think I saw something in the chat about geographical location.
There is a question about geography. It's very
Okay.
broad, but it's like what region? What region are you in? So it has a little bit more to do with like West Coast, Midwest, South, or Northeast. I just put it in broad categories. There was a actually shout out by the way to my YouTube moderator Leticia Wilson. She was the one who gave me, and shout out to everybody who's actually watching on YouTube. I generally don't give you guys enough love, but thank you guys for coming and joining our community here. Um, she recommended actually that there might be an opportunity to do something in person, maybe a larger annual conference, or maybe something as small as like a meetup, just a social meetup where we could actually connect. And so as I thought about it, it just made more sense rather than saying, hey, everybody, come to where I am, or making it particularly convenient. I'm hoping to get an idea of like where the clusters of our community actually are. And then it just makes more sense for me to go there, and organize an event that's local and would be more convenient for our community to all meet up, at least most meet up. So I'm trying to get at least a target sense of where our community typically lives or resides. So that's what I'm going for there. Does that make sense?
That's great.
Yeah.
It makes sense. That's great. We don't have a lot of people here today, but it's one question that I wonder, and I'll ask it, and if anyone's willing to share it, I will ask the question, um, what would make you tell all of the people that you know
Mm.
that are impacted by Educators House, whether they're parents, whether they're teachers, whether they're policymakers, what would make you tell people about Educators House and get them to come to our sessions? What's that one thing that we're not doing that you would say, if y'all were doing this, I'd be telling everybody?
Mm.
I'd be interested to hear some of those answers, Hassan.
And I think that's a great question. If anybody's in the listening lounge and you can drop it in the chat, we can kind of read them and unpack them. Laquita, does anything come to you top of mind? I know you got a lot on your plate, but I'm curious.
Payment. I'm just kidding.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna respond to that actually. Go ahead.
I was just thinking about like just different opportunities, and I think I saw this on the survey. Just opportunities to present, for not just only the moderators to present information, maybe the invitation. You know how they have people do proposals for different conferences.
Hmm.
If there was like an invitation for people to submit proposals to present a plenary session at the conference or something like that, so we would feel as though we were a part of it as opposed to just being a participant, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Sinab, TR, you guys are welcome to come up on stage. No pressure space, of course. So there's two layers to that, right? First, Leticia's concept of us actually hosting our own conference where we've already got a variety of special guests and excuse me, featured speakers that we've done in the past and that I want to line up for season 5. And so there's an opportunity to reorganize them in some sort of a, on the least formal side, a reunion show, and on the most formal side, an actual conference where we take the topics we've already done or we plan to do and, do it in our signature style. But there's a couple other ways that I've thought about really incentivizing the community. One of them is continuing education credits. Those of us who are student facing, we got to get our certificate, renewed. And so while university is an option, there's also credit available if you go to conferences and professional experiences. And so why can't we serve as a vendor? So I have been looking into a variety of states, and it seems like it's pretty straightforward in terms of applying. And then what that could also do is kind of target how we market. So if I go to Texas, for example, and become a vendor for the state of Texas Department of Ed, then, folks in Texas might be far more interested in coming if they knew that they could get continuing education credits or units. As you mentioned, having them serve as a featured speaker means those who are in the classroom but maybe thinking about expanding their footprint or maybe even leaving the classroom, positioning themselves as an expert, this could be a fantastic stomping ground upon which they can get some featured speaker credits. Which also leads to a certificate. So we're not quite there yet, but I suspect that within the next 12 months, and it's highlighted in the survey, but I think this idea of how to, just to answer your question, Annette, generally speaking, around 3 hours can convert to 1 unit. And then you have to have a certain number of units or credits. It just depends on the state that you're in, what they call it. What was I going to say? Oh, coming out of the educator's house, perhaps we can provide our own specialized certificates, so you go through, let's say, for example, the, hey, Black, glad to see you. Yeah, come on through. No pressure space. If you went through, let's say 80% completion or whatever the number is, right? We haven't codified it, but if you went through the screen time and child development and we can demonstrate that you've done, whatever the notes of mastery are, then you could end up certified, and then take that certificate and go do workshops or PDs in your own local area, so that could be an option. And then the last thing that I thought about in terms of incentivizing the community is creating an affiliate relationship with the members in our audience. So for example, Aminette, I hate to use you as an example without talking to you about it first, but she's the author of a series of children books. So let's say, for example, we were to do a full multi-part series on parenting and child development and really doing a deep dive on what parents need to be thinking about, what they need to be doing, and how they need to be negotiating with other partners to get their child actually ready for school and what that could look like. Well, why not promote her? And so using Educator's House and leveraging our brand and at some point, that critical value of our growth to folks who are already in the community who have products or services, and we promote those products or services, right? So maybe we don't have to recreate the wheel, but we can just leverage us as a hub for those who already are doing, great things in the field. So those are some of the things that I thought about. Go ahead, Carla.
Yes, thank you. Laquita, you said, if I heard you correctly, your recommendation would be giving the opportunity for people of the community to submit a proposal so that they could present and participate and not just sit and listen. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, so of course they would sit and listen to, other sessions, but at some point they could be a part of the action, with their own specialized expertise.
Thank you. My question would be, and not to put you on the spot, if you don't have one, that's fine. Is that something you would be willing to submit a proposal for?
Oh yes, actually yes.
Okay, thank you.
Drop your email, girl. We're going to follow up.
LAQU. I'm just kidding. I will send it to you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, you can drop it in my back channel or put it in the chat. The other area that I am highlighting in the survey, and I appreciate everybody who has filled it out. If you haven't done so, please take 5 to 7 minutes. It's not a heavy lift, but I would appreciate your feedback. It's getting critical for where we are and where we want to go. Looking for a team. And I'll be honest, if I could just be transparent with all of you who are in this room with me or can hear my voice, my anxiety rises when it comes to the hard ask. And Atlas has really pushed me on this. Black to Glory, Annette, literally all of y'all. So I feel like I'm in good company, but I am my own limiting factor, and I have to acknowledge that my growth and development and health, because this is at this point at least very personality driven, right? If there's no Hassan, there's no room, and a shout out to Annette actually, who opened up a room under the Educator's House not too long ago. So I really appreciate that. But my health, my frame of mind is the greatest limiting factor on the growth of the house. A lot of people have poured in and given me great advice, but it's my capacity to synthesize that stuff. So I'm saying all that to say, as I grow, I have been anxious about asking for partners. And because I stand in such deep gratitude for those who volunteer to come. Each of you have volunteered to come, and we're here to create community and hold space for each other as fellow educators and colleagues. What's up, Denzel? I'm glad to see you, my bro. And so I always get nervous about saying, oh, would you be interested in a more formal role? One of the things that inspired me when Annette ran her room was the role of a timer. I think that would really help to keep us on track and on time, because we do have a few speakers who love to meander their way down to a point. I ain't gonna name no names, but I'm sure some images of PTRs might be coming up for one or two of you guys. So, that could be an interesting role. Having somebody who could support the YouTube as a moderator would also be good, because with the school year coming up, having a shared load would be great. So anybody who knows that they're in listen only mode but would love to support the house could, we could work out what moderation looks like and means. Somebody who may have some skill or talent when it relates to, the web design or the administrative tasks that need to be done. Like, all of those things can really turn this from a solo project where I'm happy to serve our educators community to a real team effort. Now we're talking about amplifying, so that's something that I've thought about as well. So with that said, Denzel, I appreciate you, my bro. I'm directing everyone's attention to the survey at the top. It only takes 5 to 7 minutes, and you are very qualified to answer some of those questions. Your feedback and perspective would help me a lot when it comes to how this house is going to grow and sustain itself. And so if you got some time while we're holding space, I would certainly appreciate your support as well. Kevin, welcome to the space. And have a great day. Anyway, with all of that said, Carla, I wonder for you, the same question that you asked Laquita, which is, what's missing here? If it were up to you, what is that one signature piece that you were like, oh, if you could just get this right, it could really help with the growth and the development of the business? What are your thoughts, ma'am?
Thank you for the question. I know we've talked about quite a bit of items in the roadmap, but I think um, for people to know, have an idea of what's coming. So it's the structure and how they can participate. So I think you're starting to ask the questions like, are there going to be people who are going to present? Are there going to be people who are going to come on and help? But I think if people could go out and tell others, hey, this is what Educators House is about. Here's what they have coming up in the next few weeks. This is how you can get involved and invite. And maybe we even just, some people just like a standard script. We could give them verbiage, to a one pager about Educators House so they could even talk to it. It doesn't even have to be a full page, but it's like that elevator pitch. What is Educators House? How would you benefit from it? And here's how you get there.
That's powerful. And then I'm gonna ask you the same question, no pressure space, but would you be willing to? No, I'm joking. We could talk about it on the back end. There's something else that came up as I'm here. Shout out to Jackie Ray, who is watching us on YouTube. There's this interesting interface that came up when I saw her on the YouTube channel, which is the fact that she is what I would call education adjacent, And I wonder if the educator's house has narrowed its field so much, because really what I want to do is make these water cooler conversations, these in-house conversations that happen with people in the know behind the wall of the school system, but make them accessible to the broader community, because a lot of people really don't know what's going on behind the scenes, whether that's the big business of education or the issue of violence and safety on our campus, or, why there's such big turnover in our space. So this idea of creating partnerships and synergy with someone like a Jackie Ray, right? So Jackie Ray is a Long Beach-based professional journalist, and she is on the ground, whether that's going to WNBA games and reporting with the professionals in that space, or advocating at some political rally where injustice is being done to the members of the community down in Long Beach, and so she's really on the ground. And so in my thinking, one of the pain points, or one of the real opportunities for growth, is identifying how the house can be relevant, accessible, and find real partnerships with those education adjacent individuals and organizations. Because I think that if we can figure that part out, it would really help us get our message to the layperson who's out there, who cares about education, has, let's say, a grandchild or a niece or a nephew or a daughter or a son who is a school age child, and knows that they're capable of more, but doesn't have the language, doesn't know how to advocate themselves when they go to the student parent teacher meeting, or those kinds of things. And so I want to create a series of products and services that will actually solve the real pain point problems, and so that would be my particular wish. If anybody has anything from the listening lounge that you want to drop into the chat, as I look at the chat, Jackie Ray actually made an addition. She's in Long Beach, and we lack black teachers. If there was a part, she's taking the words right out of my mouth. If there was a partnership with Long Beach Unified School District, it could be easier for black people to take an interest in education and teaching. So great minds must think alike. And so, yeah, I think that she's spot on there. When I think about that. So that's what came up for me. Hey guys, I'm glad that you guys are here. But again, while I'm happy to hold space, if Atlas or Amunet, Denzel, or Folk want to come up and add to the conversation, I would invite it. But I'm not pressed at this time, because it's intercession, and I want to hold space, and I wanted to bring your attention to the survey at the top. And as of today, if I hit the reset button, we are still sitting at 2 responses. So I now must not be the right time for you guys to connect on that, which I totally appreciate. But yeah, that's kind of where I sit, guys. So if there is no other business, I don't want to leave too soon, because there may be an incompletion. So let's pass it to Laquita, and we'll decide from there as a group. Go ahead, Laquita. Mic is yours.
Oh, just a quick question. Did you try refreshing that page?
I did
Because
refresh the
maybe they.
page. Oh
Okay,
wait,
okay,
well,
that's
well,
awesome.
well, well, pushed up to 3. Hey, party over here.
You silly.
Thank you. Let's see if I can figure out who emails. I guess I should have got your name too. Golly, I got to work on this, guys. So I appreciate this random double blind survey that we're doing right now. I will update it in version 2 to get the names and contact information, so I can follow up in case there's any additional questions. My brother Denzel came up into the building, and so I'm glad that you're here, my bro. Welcome to the space. How you doing, man? Mike is yours. We haven't really connected in a while.
I'm doing good, son. Hey, Carla. Hey, Miss Laquita.
Hey, D.
What's up, my boy? What part of the country are you in, sir?
I'm in the South.
In the South, okay. And this isn't your first time in Educator's House? I know we hang out in the other space that I host, Husbands in Pursuit, but you've been around here before?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I appreciate you for coming in, man. As I mentioned on the mic, we don't have much of a agenda. I'm just kind of pointing people to the survey that's at the top. But if I was to ask you about your experience in education, could you maybe give me a little bit of a rundown of what it was like for you as a student coming up?
Um, so from pre-K to 12th grade, I was I say during my elementary years, from pre-K to like fifth grade, I was more of like a hands-on learner. And then once I got to middle school and high school, I could listen to something one time and catch on pretty quick. Um, and then that developed in my college years. College, a lot of things were a lot of my major was based mostly on science, so a lot of that classes and lessons I had to like go to my professor and get tutoring, until I got it. Very shy to ask questions, by the way, because I didn't want to be the student in class to ask stupid questions. But as you get older, you realize there are no such thing as a stupid question.
Right.
Um, but I would say for the most part, it didn't really take me long to catch on to new material. As long as it was uh, taught in a uh, I don't know what word I'm trying to use. As long as it was taught in a way that can be understood the first time, and you know, um, so yeah, that would be my, I guess, explanation on my education from PK to 12th grade and then on to college.
Yeah, no, that was a great explanation. Let's talk about the pain point. If there was something that, how do I want to say, that you would wish we as professional educators could have done better, or if you had the magic wand and could make education for you more ideally suited to your experience. And nothing might be an answer, but I'm curious if you could change or add something, what would that look like?
I don't know if y'all remember these classes or not, but I had a couple times in elementary where I was taken out of my class to take some specific like test.
Mm,
I don't remember what they were called, but um, not everybody in my class got those tests, and I still think about those to this day. Like, why was I the only person to get pulled out of class to get those tests and stuff like that? But if I had to say something that could help the educators um, be more precise with the students individually, um, in this day and age, um, which I know is kind of difficult because you're looking at a classroom with at least 15 to 20 students. Um, but I'm gonna just say, I think the connection outside of the curriculum, and when I say that, I mean by like greeting the students when they come into class and asking them are they okay, giving
mm,
them um, a safe space to talk to you after class or before class. Because if I were to go back to my high school years, there was a guy in class that used to interrupt the class all the time. This was in 10th grade, and I knew him personally, and I knew what he dealt with, but the teacher didn't know. So the teacher would, obviously take him to the principal's office because he wasn't, being cooperative. But he would tell me, I go through so much and stuff, and I just really want some attention. So I think, like I said, it's hard to cater to 15 to 20 students like that, um, on top of the curriculum. But if I had to say one thing, I would say, just don't give a curriculum to the students and just send them on their way. Especially the kids that want attention. It's something always deeper than that from home. But if I had to give something that you could do inside the classroom that doesn't have to do with outside the classroom, um, I really don't have nothing. I mean, from my personal experience, I don't have nothing. I would say all my teachers were pretty patient, which I know you have to be an educator. You have to have a lot of patience. Um, so I don't have anything, Brother Hassan. I think that would just be my opinion.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. What you just dropped is real gold. To hear from a student what the real experience was like is a pretty huge deal. And to be honest with you, my colleagues and I have had this great debate about the degree to which the current education system, we use language like teaches to the middle, you know. So not only do you have those students who require more attention, perhaps because of the home environment and they're not really getting fed, or they're, how do we call it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're food insecure or housing insecure. And so they need to feel a greater sense of security. Yes, on the one hand, but then on the whole other side of that spectrum, you have some of our highest end students who are ready for more, ready for greater academic challenges. And they're also being underserved because, as you mentioned, those 15 to 20 students, that teacher tends to be teaching right to the middle, and so ultimately when you're trying to teach everybody, you end up teaching nobody, versus those more advanced teachers who have figured out how to, we use words like individualized education, and so how do we take this vanilla curriculum, but then add a little bit of cayenne pepper for this one kid, a little bit of chocolate for the other, a little bit of, strawberry for the other. Like, how can we take this core, but then individualize it? And just to give you some insight on the challenge of what it takes to go from, good to great in the teaching space, the institution has a tendency in the general space to steal the time that we need to take that vanilla curriculum and individualize it so that you get what you need, but then Carla gets what she needs as well. We have this thing, it's a very interesting space, and forgive me if I'm over talking, but I just want to really address what you're talking about because it was important. There's a time during our school day called a planning period. And during that planning period, what we're supposed to be able to do is lesson plan, run and get copies, do some individualizing for the kids that we know are coming, to plan ahead so that things are a little bit easy for us in real time. And in these days, and it was mentioned by someone earlier, we see a big problem with the number of teachers. Teachers are leaving the field for a variety of reasons. And so the teachers that are on campus end up having to be substitute teachers for that period. So we lose our planning period. Sometimes principals want to have meetings during our planning period. So it's meant to be a sacred hour where we can really get things done. And sometimes it means just doing nothing. This the tens of thousands of decisions that we have to make dealing with, let's say at the high school level, 25 to 30 kids per class times 7 periods. You're talking about 20 times 7 is over 140. So it could be anywhere from 140 to 200 kids in a single day. The number of decisions that we have to make with who needs this, who needs that, blah, 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 can be very complex. So sometimes that planning period is just about regaining our composure, and having a meditation moment so that we can be mentally strong for what's going on. Anyway, I say all that to say, theoretically, what your deep desire is should be possible in theory. But oftentimes when the reality hits the road, it's just too difficult. It's just not practical. So I appreciate that. And it really highlights something that's important. So thank you for that. I see Zarvania came up. Hey, Zarvania, if I could speak to you real quick. We're holding a chillism room, and this is just an opportunity for people to come in and come out. And so a lot of folks that filled out the survey, if you are here to chill, like I said, we don't have too much of an agenda, but just take for us, please, 5 to 7 minutes and complete the survey that you see at the top. I would certainly appreciate it. We're collecting some data so that we can make some smart decisions when it comes to season 5. In the meantime, how are you, ma'am? Thanks for coming up on stage.
Oh, I'm doing pretty fine. I hate that I missed the earlier part. I would have just loved to have heard any of the voices that were on the stage.
Yeah, we had a good time. Our friend Nazi came through and she represented. She just recently visited the Department of Education. Our friend Laquita here is up on stage. She actually is going to start in service. Day 1 of back on duty starts for her tomorrow. Carla, my co-pilot here at the Educator's House, was very helpful in terms of asking some really important questions. One of the essential questions she asked was, what can we do? What's that missing piece that would inspire you to go out to your teacher besties, your colleagues, and say, have you guys heard about Educator's House? If you're not filling out the survey, or do you have some time to fill out the survey?
Well, sure, I do.
Okay, so in the meantime, maybe we can just have you do a quick point of departure, and then you can fill it out once we kind of finish holding community together. What would be that one thing for you? If you've been at the house, you kind of know how we operate, you see how we do things. Like, what would be that one piece that would inspire you to let other folks know that you trust about the house?
Um, I don't know. All right, so I have shared. Like, what's odd is I've shared. I want more people to join, and that's between your house and even whenever I visit with Nazi, and it seems to be so hard to get the people who would really have a lot to say. It's hard to bring them to the conversation,
Yeah.
and of course it's not physically hard. They just have to click it on their phone. Um, but I've shared the information. I'm just not quite sure what will truly bring them in. I'm sure they'd love it once they got here. They just got to get here.
Yeah.
Sarvania, what do you think, if you just were taking a guess based on your expertise, what do you think might be some of the reasons they don't come?
I think doing anything outside of their norm could be something. A lot of our teachers and educator friends are, they have families. So on Sundays, they might already have their routine in place,
Mm,
not knowing that this little addition doesn't take much time away. Um, So I think that would be one. The other, I think some people still have this hang up that um, Clubhouse is just only for Apple users, and that's been kind of gone away for a while. But whenever I brought it up to a few like people I hadn't before, they said, "Oh no, I thought that's just that thing for iPhones." Like, actually, no. Clubhouse is available on both platforms. So I think it was like that thought. And for those that have been on Clubhouse for a while, honestly, the temperament of Clubhouse has changed.
that's a fact.
And so you have some people that began here a while ago, when quite a few of us had rooms, and they didn't even have the separation of like houses. That didn't really exist. And so you have some that were here back then, and they don't know how things have been revamped, or how useful it still can be. So I think it's that kind of.
I'm gonna.
Thank you for that share. In your opinion, if they heard that we were doing an educators conference on Clubhouse, what I think I heard you say, it does not carry the same impact if we were having the same conference on, let's say, LinkedIn.
Kind of, yes.
mm,
Um,
Thank
I,
you.
I yeah, I do believe that would be true.
Okay. Thank you for that feedback.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because I remember, I was on Clubhouse back in the day when it was still invitation only, and
Hmm.
I remember the vast majority of education spaces. When we were all teaching from home and during COVID time, like the club, if you look at the house, we have over 32,000 members because of their availability and accessibility and the fact that the app was still new and interesting, but I'm looking at some of my own houses and just as a quick scroll, there was the teachers lounge that I was a part
Hmm.
of, there was educating the uneducated, the egg diagnosticians that Nazi runs, and she still has rooms every once in a while, and more. There was like a
Yeah.
full menu
Yeah.
of options coming out with different styles and different cultures and all of that. But now it's not the same anymore.
No, I used to have a Saturday room every Saturday at 9 o'clock. I had a room, and it was on the blackboard. And I would interview teachers and parents, and we would discuss like strategies together, and how we could really help our kids. No, I haven't had that in a couple of years now.
Right, right. Go ahead, Laquita. I'll pass it right to you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I usually host educators rooms as well, and when I tell you I'm in there talking to myself, and I have a lot of educator friends. That was one of the first groups that I, started commingling with when I first came to Clubhouse, and so I have a lot of educator friends. I know how to do the search bar, searching for people who have educator in their profile, teacher. I'm like, oh gosh, help me, guys, and nobody will come in there except for like sometimes most of the time it'll be like some of my poetry friends, and then
Mm,
we'll just come in and have like a general conversation about education, but it's not the conversation that I'm really looking for, because I'm really looking for people who are actually in the field, in the classroom, or who are close to the field. Maybe they've taught where they've retired or transitioned out of education, and I want to have those conversations. But then the conversation topics tend to change just because of the nature of the people who actually come into the room. And most of the time, when I'm trying to search for educators to come into the room, I notice that most of them are not even online at all. And like usually you can tell, like if someone has been on Clubhouse maybe within the last 3 hours or 1 hour, it'll have that little green number on their profile pic, but it won't even have, most of them won't even have that. So I don't know if they've just kind of shifted out of Clubhouse and start focusing on being quote unquote outside,
Right.
but it's really hard out here in these streets.
You know, it brings something up for me, and this might be something that, Carla, we should consider adding to the survey. If we were to move to another platform, you know, question A, would you guys, the actual community that supports the house now, would you be willing to move over with the house? You know, so there's an app called Chatter. And again, to Zarvania's point, I don't know if any of these other apps are any more friendly to professional grade conversations. But, you know, Chatter and Fanbase are two relatively new apps that seem to be, you know, interested in content creators like myself and a professional grade community like this. Again, the question is fit, but then of course there's also LinkedIn, you know, so if we were to abandon Clubhouse as a project and move over to another type of platform, would that be a better fit? And would the people here come with? Because, you know, you guys are the core of the community. And so to leave without you guys coming, I don't know. I feel some type of way because we are the house. You know, it's like a church. The walls don't matter. It's the people within the walls that really make the house what the house is. You know, so that's what came up for me when I heard you guys speaking.
I would definitely move over. I thought it was really nice being able to watch on YouTube now
Mm.
because I got to actually see, some of the people who were, who you were interviewing. That for me gave a really nice touch because I just see your still face, the whole time. I'm like, oh, look, he's a real person, right? And so I enjoyed that you were doing it on both platforms and I can honestly go over there and watch you.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty nice too.
I appreciate that. We're sitting at 3 responses right now. I know some of you have had the opportunity to do so, so I just want to remind you. I hope I'm not harassing you, but since Saki, that's not Saki, is it? I don't think so. Saki's got a pink ticket. Becoming and Tahira are all here, so I'd just like to make a public service announcement, and maybe Zarvania, while I'm in this reset, if you could check out that survey, I would appreciate your support. We are in a chillism room, guys. I don't have much of an agenda. I'm just holding space and community. As you know, we always meet Sundays around this time, and so I'm glad that you guys dropped in. In the meantime, my real call to action is to direct your attention up to the top, strengthening the house. It's a quick survey, should take no more than 5 to 7 minutes. And if you know that you're in the listening lounge, I certainly would appreciate your support and getting your feedback here. So there are a few of you that I know personally, and so I would feel some type of way if you didn't weigh in. But your feedback here, because I'm making that transition from Passion Project and us hosting really fantastic conversations, bringing on some really high-end professionals, but always remembering the core essence of Educators House, the heart of the house is the community and centering the voices of our community. And so with that said, this is my first actually very formal opportunity to collect real data that we can look at the numbers and say, this is what the community wants. And so if you remember last week, and I think some of you were there, last week was about hearing from you guys as the community. So we had those 2 essential questions. What is the real problem in education? And then if I gave you a magic wand, could you paint a picture of what education should look like or could look like? And then today's topic is, or the essential question today is about strengthening the house. How do we move this thing forward in a way that can become sustainable? So 5 to 7 minutes is all I ask of your time. And so if you guys are available and can weigh in, I would appreciate that. Carla, I'll come back to you if you don't have, if actually, you know what I'll do, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to turn over to the YouTube channel. And I know some of you guys don't, that are here,
take all the different,
may not have that. So if you go to YouTube, it's at Educators House, all one word. You can find our channel. You'll see I'm still kind of getting the house cleaned up over there. And so some of them still have the generic thumbnail and not much of a description. But if you scroll back in time, I'm kind of going from the oldest stuff up to the newest stuff. I actually kind of like it. I've been working with this artificial intelligence machine and getting it to help me kind of upgrade the YouTube algorithm friendly experience. And so that's sort of where I sit. But when I look at the YouTube chat, there are some great folks that are here, and I'm glad that you guys are all here. And so if you guys also could click on the link that you'll find in the chat and complete the survey, I would certainly appreciate it. Special shout out to Leticia Wilson. She's been extremely helpful. One of the things, Arvania, that you probably noticed in the survey is opportunities to engage and volunteer. And so knowing that school year is about to start and a lot of my front facing teachers are going to be a lot busier, diversifying our roles might be a way to help sustain the space as well. Becoming, let me send out some invitations just in case anyone wants to jump in. This is the Chillism Room, and as you always know, this is a no pressure space. But one of the
I've been inviting Hassan.
Okay, thank you, dear,
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it. I'm actually inspired to bring up something else. It's not really part of the survey, but there are people that I know personally, and some of whom I've had the great pleasure of supporting their pathway towards dissertation. And so I thought about the fact that we as the house, while let's call it the K-12 experience has been maybe considered the bread and butter, the house is much bigger than that. And I have probably not given as much attention as I could or should to those members of the house who are at the higher education level, both as professor, but also as dissertation students. Excuse me. And so I think there really is an opportunity to not only hear from PhD students. I know two Black women PhD candidates personally, and they have both shared with me the gauntlet that they must endure, which is far beyond the capacity to do high quality academic research. Some might even refer to it as a hazing experience when it comes to getting towards that dissertation. I also know a professional, Dr. Banks, maybe I should, I didn't get her permission to say her name, but there's a founder of an organization called Melanin Science, and she is interested in developing a fast track company that can help serve as a clearinghouse and an accelerator for folks to get into the STEAM fields, science, tech, engineering, and math. I don't think she has a particular focus on arts. And so I have come across my desk, Carla, a lot of folks who are interested at what's going on at the higher level. And so there may be an opportunity there that we really haven't tapped into. So when you think about some topics that you would be interested in hearing more about in the future of Educators House, what are some topics that come up for you? Mine was about this higher ed, but what about from your POV? Where could Educators House lean in on the next season?
Thank you for coming up. Becoming. I'm gonna, since she came up and I've been inviting, can we go to her and I'll come back
Yeah.
and we can give her space?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Hey,
Okay.
Becoming, how are you, ma'am?
Hey everybody. Thanks for the invite. It's good to be here with all of you. I'm not really sure what the question is, but
Well,
thank you for having me.
no, I'm glad that you're up. We can just meet and greet as you see on the title. This is more of a just vibes. And so it's good to just have the community come together and engage in a little consensual fellowship. So we're just kicking it for a bit. And so really it's just a matter of checking in. How are things with you in either your personal or professional world, whatever is appropriate to share?
Yes, thanks for asking. I am, can you all hear? I get a red bar.
You are a
Can you hear
little
me
bit,
okay?
yeah, you're a little bit in the matrix, actually. How about this? If you don't mind, perhaps I can direct your attention to the survey, and then I will slide over to Kimberly Jones to give her some greetings, and maybe by then your
Okay.
red bar will resolve. So, hey, Kimberly, glad that you came up. I noticed what you put in the chat, and maybe you could lean in on that. Before I pass you the mic, I just want to give some shout outs to Uguilu, Black to Glory, Celeste, all of you guys who are in the space. I'm glad that you guys are here. We're on a Cheerleadership Just Vibe, directing attention to the Strengthening the House survey. It's just a Google Doc, pretty straightforward, but it's a great way for me to get some feedback. So with that said, Ms. Jones, I'm curious either to lean in on what you said or perhaps just give greetings to the room, but either way, the mic is yours.
Peace and love. Peace and love. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Perfect. So yes, I briefly got into, when I came into the room, I heard the last of like, what could you kind of, add more of, like what things we might want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
In herbalism, I feel is really important that it's a touchy topic that a lot of people don't touch on. So I think that it'd be really awesome if you shared anything with like herbalism, or if you're even looking for people to speak about it. If you don't mind, I can tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a certified herbalist, a certified doula, and a certified nutritionist. And I just actually opened up a doctor's holistic office in New Jersey in Bayville. And it's for my community and just wanting to, enlighten the community on how important it is about herbalism. Just going back as our ancestors did naturally with delivering babies at home, things like that in that nature. So I think that it also, be really cool to hear like-minded people that may touch on that base, or if you're looking for anybody to speak about that topic or anything like that in that nature.
Can we build a little bit, Kimberly? Do you mind?
Absolutely.
I want to paint a picture for one of the dreams that I have not really shared with the community, but a few people know. I have had a deep desire to tackle the issue of health and nutrition among our students. And so if you don't know, Kimberly, my typical format, and you can see it if the opportunity comes for you to fill out the survey above, even though you're kind of new to the house, it gives an opportunity for you to weigh in on just what you spoke to. But to that point, when I think about the issue of health and nutrition, there's so much that comes up. So I've had this dream of bringing, let's say, for example, an herbalist or a nutritionist like yourself. If somewhere in the universe there was somebody that was looking at the intersection of nutrition and mental well-being, that would be an amazing speaker to have as part of this survey. Or this multi-part series. I know that someone else in our space called Sister Sue is a nurse. And so I think there's a natural intersection there. I would even love to have a cafeteria lady who could take us behind the scenes to what's really happening with the food. I don't even know if we can call it food, the stuff that we put on that plastic covered plate that we serve to our kids to say that they're getting, meals. So there's so many parts just in that. But then to your point, when I think about scale, right, because I've had the great pleasure of teaching across the country, this idea on a scale perspective, what would need to change in education to be able to have students eat food that comes out of the ground that they actually till and harvest and potentially even prepare? Like, that's a radical shift from what the traditional school is even capable of attempting in a real way, but the earth works, the ground be grounding, and the sun be sunning. So it's really a matter of will and priority to be able to create a curriculum where students could actually build and grow the food on a seasonal level that they could actually prepare and eat. And you know how it is, I'm sure. The harvest is overabundant, and so they may be able to even take some of that food home. I mean, the capacity to strengthen what a local culture is when they're actually creating their own food. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm over talking. I would love to turn the mic over to you. What are your thoughts maybe about what I said, or maybe you could just lean in a little bit more on some of the thoughts that you had, but I'll pass it right back to you, Kimberly.
Absolutely. And everything that you said was so divine. Yeah, so you touched on so many bases. I was like, crap, I should have just typed all this down. But no, so one thing that definitely happened to me is one said that what could we do to help, our schools to help basically provide that education for our children on wanting to basically encounter more fruits and vegetables and things like that. I really think that it's really important when we're in health, of course, talking about the body, but really getting down to eating based off our DNA molecule structure.
Mm.
So we know the type of fruits and vegetables that needs to be encountered in our divine body. Also, during recess, instead of playing outside, why not have, children that we can start planting, and then plant the foods over the years. And then next year it could be, a year where lunchtime we're actually utilizing, or however long it takes for them to, grow the foods and
Right.
things like that in that nature. They can eat that during lunch. Um, Also, to also prevent all of that, helping the mothers and families get away on, how do I say it? Finding our purpose of why we were here and making our own money for ourselves so we can have the chance to homeschool our babies and grow our foods in our backyards and teach them things that is, needable for them. Um, I really think that's important. And I'm speaking that for myself because I actually homeschool my children. Back in 2020, I actually took them out of the school system. I kind of went a little crazy because information I was receiving so much that I was finding out that the school actually took to my passion and actually provided stuff that I needed for my children for the homeschooling, because I was completely against the way that they were teaching our children and just how things were going. And over that time of me pulling back,
Mm.
I actually gained that ability to, between me and this whole room, I actually have 7 children. And a lot of people are like, wow, how do you do that? How are you able to, maintain everything that goes on in your life? And it really goes down to providing the nutrients and vitamins to ourselves, but as well as our babies, because our
Mm.
babies are supposed to work with us, not against us.
Right.
And a lot of people think that, children that are misbehaving or not listening, or like example in school, things that we're feeding our babies are giving us these, it's giving them that type of energy that we don't want to receive, especially when we're at work, and here we're getting a phone call, oh, our son just beat up such and such, or such and such isn't listening, or this and that. We have to take account of, what do we just feed our child, and how do we not expect them to, what I mean, certain things that aren't aligning with their body. So I think the school should really tackle people like just eating based off your DNA molecule structure, and to divine that down to eating based off of your blood type.
Mm.
Basically, I really feel like could prevent a lot of things, and naturally our body will be designed on liking these fruits, liking, certain foods that we can grow ourselves, but also interesting it into a fun way. We have to start when we're young, and I started when my children were, at the time when I only had 3 children, when they were 3 and 5, I started eating shock, which is a blood type, which is only supposed to be a pescatarian or a vegetarian.
Mm.
And I chose to, let's see if I can try to, go around this world without utilizing anything that's not meant for me. So I decided to go vegetarian, and me and my children have been vegetarian for 5 years now, and I have watched a transition. Not only to say that my 9-year-old was a low function autistic baby, and to the fact that watching her body go abundantly naturally, like through the foods that she's consuming, watch to the point basically I'm fighting the state because I reversed her autism,
Mm.
because of just giving her natural things for her body. We can actually see abundantly beautiful. We can see our true children through when we're giving them natural things and stuff like that.
Now listen
So
here. Now we not gonna give up all the good stuff in this little meet and greet. Let's set
Oh,
up something where
Hassan,
we
give
can
up
properly
something.
unpack.
Put down the potato chips, Hassan.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I can't eat just one. Doesn't that commercial say that? Kimberly,
But
that
it
was
sounds
yeah.
like we found someone to help with this health session that we're going to want to build,
Hmm.
if she would be so willing to partner with us.
Would you be open to that idea? Us working
absolutely,
together? Yeah, let's put
I
something
would
together.
I would love to. This is actually my first room that I've actually gotten into since I've been on Clubhouse. And it just seems every time that I decide to just hop on Clubhouse, I find beautiful people like you guys and start beautiful, abundantly relationships. And I absolutely would love to.
Well, let me pass this mic around because we've got a new voice on the stage, but I would be remiss if I did not give Becoming an opportunity to jump back in. Kimberly, if you have an opportunity, maybe this will be a good time for you to scroll up to the top and complete the Strengthening the House survey. That way I can get some real and meaningful data as we move into season 5 of what we're doing. I'm happy to announce, guys, that we're up to 5 responses now. So I appreciate everybody for taking time and really heeding the call to action.
One thing, Hassan,
Yeah, go ahead.
Kimberly, can you put your contact information in the chat or either back channel Hassan or myself?
Absolutely, most definitely. Okay,
Thank you.
love to the room.
Yeah, thank you very much. Becoming, I don't know if you had a chance to complete the survey because, again, I didn't. There's a few essential missing questions. But now that we're kind of low key in your wheelhouse, I wonder if anything came up for you based on what you heard Becoming, and then I'll slide to Black to Glory.
No, everything sounds great. Sounds exciting.
Awesome. So,
Can we ask her the question, Hassan, about what it would take to get more people coming in?
do you mind taking that lead?
Oh, sure. The question that we asked earlier was, what one thing do you, just one thing you think that might be missing that would cause you to go out and tell all your teacher friends, your parents, anyone that could benefit from what Educators House is offering? What would be that one thing that would get you to go out and start telling people today, hey, you need to come in the house because A, B, or C? What would that be for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have to really think about that a little bit more. But I will give some clarity. I'm not sure, you know, I'm actually not a teacher, so, but that is something I would have to give some more thought to. My focus is actually on in psychology, so health psychology, and my work focuses more on health, food, mental wellness, things like that, and supporting families who have developmental disabilities among their children, but all from the lens of health and food psychology. So I think for me, any topics, of course, in my wheelhouse is always welcome. And as a whole, I love the space.
All right, Kimberly, sounds like we might have a natural partner for a multi-part series here. We're gonna put something together. I'm loving how this is sounding. Thank you, Becoming. Awesome. A few things come up for me, and then I'm going to pass it straight to Black to Glory. You know, when I was hearing you speak, both Kimberly and Becoming, um, a few things came up for me, right? From a curriculum perspective, my master's degree is in curriculum and instruction. I'm thinking about the power of a functional and a scalable garden, at least for the school itself. There certainly should be enough earth to be able to run a garden that may be able to at least sustain maybe a monoculture or maybe something a bit more diverse, the campus, the campus community. But within that, I mean, the science department is all up in that. You've got chemistry when you want to deal with the soil and more. You've got biology when you're dealing with issues like photosynthesis and the ecosystem in order to create a thriving garden, and more. You've got the social sciences, maybe with economics, maybe with the food desert issue, maybe with community wellness and more. You've also got the issue of mental health, of health and nutrition, right? Of wellness and the ability to cooperate. And so I think just from a curricular perspective, a school that's thinking along these lines could certainly still be in alignment with No Child Left Behind or Common Core or whatever the national standards are that schools are expected to align with. There's a way that we can, somebody, I think it was tied to tutoring, that said there's many ways to Chicago, and so we can still be in alignment, but actually provide the type of curriculum that I think would be of value to the future. So Black to Glory, I'm going to pass it over to you. When I think about what was proposed, I mean, that sounds like culture. There's a connection to the ground. There's a connection to community. There's a sense of belonging. There's a sense of safety when we talk about food safety at a minimum here. And so I'm curious, maybe not about that in particular, but maybe more generally speaking, what came up for you based on what you've heard so far, sir?
Can you hear me okay? You can give me this red button at the bottom.
So far, you sound good. If you see me mute you, that means that we can't hear you. So don't be offended.
Gotcha.
But go ahead.
I guess it depends on, which direction how we're adding things to a school system, because my the Black to Glory, the actual program, covers that kind of what Kimberly was saying, and almost like very closely to that, at least at the first section of that whole program. So if you wanted to add something like that to a school curriculum, a polyculture obviously be a lot better than a monoculture, and because you can grow a lot more food in a small space. So it gets into everything that you're saying, all those other disciplines, and making a lot of food, cooking, or whatever you want to add with school. So, and even whether it's for school or for your own house, or your neighborhood, it'd be the same thing, same project.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I guess I mean that would mainly be it without going too deep, unless you wanted to go deeper into how that process works or how mine may differ then in detail slightly.
Well, let's do that. Kimberly becoming, I think I've invited each of you guys individually to check out the survey. So I'll just make a quick invitation to those who are still in the room. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And then I would like to go a little bit deeper with you, Black. Tanisha, Trey, Prince Ruckus, I noticed what you dropped in the chat, but the survey is actually independent of you being a teacher. This is one of the things that we hope to inform our community about, that even though we may be talking to teachers, as you can see on the stage, there's a nutritionist, there's a psychologist, there is a neuroculture, Renaissance man up in here, so we do not limit ourselves to just like the simple classroom teacher. And, I think in one way or another, we are all educators, and I don't want to discount the great value that you have when it comes to being a member of the academic community, being a parent and more. So I'll just say that. But I want to invite everyone's attention to the top. You'll see in the marquee, there is a survey. It's just a Google Doc. It's nothing, wild or to be worried about, but it's called Strengthening the House. We are currently in intercession. This is sort of our summer session before we kick off season 5 here at the Educator's House. And we would love to get feedback from you, the direct members who choose to come into this house and be a part of our community. And so if you could please take 5 to 7 minutes, it's not too long. It's only 2 sections and just about 14 questions. And most of them are clicks, so it's not a very heavy lift, but it would provide us with significant and meaningful impact and information as we decide what we are going to do for season 5. And so at whatever level you are, Prince Ruckus, who's not a teacher in the slightest, or Kimberly, who is a professional nutritionist and herbalist, or Zarvania, who is actually in the classroom as a professional, all of your feedback would be extremely meaningful. And so just keep that in mind, guys, because that's really our call to action for today. So with that being said, Trey Lee, I see you, and I'm going to come to you in a bit, but I'm going to pass it to Becoming first to see what came up for her, and then Black and I will unpack a little bit, and then I'll come straight to you, Trey Lee. Becoming, if you're available, the mic is yours.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add a few quick things I forgot about. Um, so, without going into the specifics of the university that I am with, one of the professors or directors that I work with, a lot of our research work is focused on food and nutrition within communities throughout New York State and beyond. And I have had the privilege of working with, as I stated, this individual who has spearheaded programs throughout national school lunches, school breakfast programs, SNAP for women, different dietary guidelines through the American Scientific Review. I believe it was maybe end of last year, we were in Chicago and we were present with members from the Food and Drug Administration. So I'm saying all that to say that there is a lot of work that is being done, but it's a long process when it comes to food and nutrition. Um, Two of the studies that I'm particularly leading right now are focused on children, their weight, their nutrition aspect specifically. One of the studies is focused on neurodivergent children. And so I'm saying all that to say that there's definitely a need for it. Um, it's a long process. There's a lot of programs that are honestly in progress, if I could say it that way, focusing on that. Um, and I think there's a need for more community conversation, if I could say it that way, and not so much maybe get the schools to do this or that, but more how to get these parents to become more educated about what they choose to purchase, why they choose to purchase it, and how to encourage their children to have these different um, dietary changes. So, and that's a little bit more into the psychological part, but I'll end with that. That
Hmm.
I think there's a need, Hassan and everyone, for more of the community discussion because there's a lot going on in the upper.
I laid out what my intentions are in terms of bringing the other speakers in, but you brought up something important. So at the risk of offending my two patiently waiting next speakers, I'd like to ask you just one question. Becoming, for you, when we think about what's happening on the ground, and you just laid it out, there's plenty of need, but there's a lot already underway, and this priority of community conversation. When you think about what has come up and what we've discussed so far, what in your mind is the greatest limiting factor that's preventing us from actually rolling this out, let's say at either the local or even the national level? Is that a fair question?
Can you repeat it?
What is the limiting factor to making this thing actually happen?
And making it happen at the higher level or the lower, and I hate to say lower, but um, make what happen in what way? Like upper or
I'll try
can you
to,
be a little more
yeah,
specific?
no, I'll try to be brief because I do want to push out, but this is a big deal for me. If we, let's say, well, let's keep it very local. One school wanted to have this kind of a program where 80% of the food that they brought on was grown locally on their campus. Is there, in your mind, anything that's stopping a school from doing something like that? Or is it just a matter of creativity and priority?
Yeah, so just to be respectful of your space and time. So to me, there's a lot of factors, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'm literally serving with someone who is on the ground and in the upper level, meaning administratively in these areas. And I do think that there are some programs that maybe already exist, um, but there's just a lot of different factors that go into play when you start dealing with the school system and the food systems.
Yeah.
And so my short answer is to me it's a lot of different factors, but I would say that, and this is I feel very, just like you, Hassan, and everyone, I feel very strong about this area because when I chose to go into psychology, I knew that it needed to be within health and food psychology for a reason. But I feel, and this is my personal opinion, but also sort of backed on a lot of the research that I've been spending time doing, that it really gets, to me, the issue is the families. It's the
Mm-hmm.
individual, right? And so I feel like the barrier really is in the individual home. And I'll end with this, and maybe later it could be another discussion. One of the reasons why I feel that way is because regardless as to the food environment, right? And this is part of my dissertation as we speak among moms,
Mm.
right? Regardless as to the food environment, if the individual families or individual parent does not believe that it's possible or even that um, there's a need for the change, the food just goes wasted. So I'll end there.
Wow. I need some kind of a sprinkle soundtrack. There we go. I appreciate that gem that you just dropped on us. I see you in the chat, Kimberly. She said, if you don't mind, I can answer that question as well. I feel the only thing that could stop a lot of things would be the consistency from the students. By this being something new, newly introduced to them, we would have to be on top of them and make it fun and creative. And so I think that's a powerful piece. Now, I don't want to go too far and to lose my cue, but clearly there is something here. And so I want to pay very close attention to you guys' voices. And I will only hope that you guys perceive of the educator's house as a safe space, because I need your help. Let me move the mic on to Black to Glory. You saw how I did that, right, Black? I appreciate you, sir. What comes up for you, my guy?
Um, I mean, there's a few ways to tackle this,
Yeah.
and it depends on, I guess, the school you're dealing with, because you can come at it from the outside and try to partner, which may be easier with 501(c)(3, depending on how the school is set up or what they're looking for. You could try to work with them directly, which depends on the school, but ultimately you could still get the same thing accomplished. So if I was to answer the question, what's in the way? It depends, I guess, which direction you're trying to go, because you can do it on your own. So you could go directly to the families of the students
Mm-hmm.
and go that direction and start one way. You could have, again, so there kind of three areas of attack. Attack all three, I would say, at the same time. But obviously that comes down to resources and
Yeah.
unfortunately politics to a degree, depending on which direction you go. Some will have stronger political influence, and some it may not be needed at all because you're providing a service, and then the word will catch on by itself. So I guess it depends on which angle you want to attack it.
That's interesting. I was just reading from Trey Lee, and I think maybe I can bring you into this, but because I'm not sure exactly if we should push the conversation out. Black, I want to kind of do something on the bigger issue of culture, because I think there's something there as it relates to a room. But Trey said we're definitely more than simple, and I appreciate that. Black, you talked about the fact that it could be done on our own. An individual family can do it. But you and I know when we discuss the issue of screen time and child development, and for anybody who's watching on YouTube, shout out to everybody who's watching us live on YouTube. You can check out the YouTube channel and you can see we've done a full multi-part series on the issue of screen time and child development. It's probably one of my favorite ones. But in there, even if an individual parent wanted to keep their child away from the screen due to some obvious reasons, I'll say some, even if a parent wanted to give their child, let's say, a vegan, a vegetarian, or more broadly, a healthy eating lifestyle of living foods, they're inside of a context, so that peer is among other peers, where when they pull out their sauteed broccoli, and the other kid has Taki chips, the kid wants to engage in a trade. I'll give you 3 broccolis for 1 Taki, for 1 hot Cheeto. And so there is that issue of the context, but then also, their broader environment. They may be in a food desert, or they may be in such an urban area that they're in a multi-unit apartment complex where there's no real ground for them to attempt to grow those things. And so there's got to be some sort of cultural imperative if the individual chooses to do it. But from my point of view, the school can serve as an institution. The school has physical land, that could be used and converted for a different use case. Maybe that football team, I don't mean to insult anyone, especially you Texans, but maybe that football team who hasn't won a game in 3 years, maybe we could take a couple square feet out of the end zone, which your team has never made it in, and convert that into a little garden or something. Maybe I'm going too far. I'm sorry. I'm oversimplifying, I'm sure. But there's got to be a place for the community to support this. Or maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm oversimplifying this. Black, you have any thoughts before I push over to Trey Lee?
Like I said, it just all depends on the school and what you're doing. So there is generally a lot of land that is not being used for anything but growing grass,
Right.
which
Right.
costs the school money. So you could always approach it to school from a business standpoint and say, look, we'll rent this area from you. And they may be like, well, that's an interesting proposition, because no one's ever come to them for that. To use people are looking for money from the school, or it's more about taking the workload off of them and making them an offer they can't refuse. So if you can pull something creative together, depending on their roof setup, you could say, well, we could do a rooftop garden on top of that, and the available space, and everything else we can do. You can talk to the neighboring. If you're in a neighborhood, you can talk to the neighboring houses and say, hey, can we rent your front yard? And that way, the yards immediately adjacent to the school could be a part of the gardening process. All that's just being creative about it.
I like how you think, young fella. We're going to keep you around. If you haven't done so, scroll up to the top, tap onto that survey. Here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to push down to Trey Lee. I'd love to build with Trey for a bit because it is a new speaker on the stage. But then it looks like it would be wise for me to turn moderator privilege over to Carla. And perhaps there could be an additional conversation from some of the members who are up here on the stage. So, Carla, if that's okay with you, just give me a double tap, and we'll make that transition once I finish with Trey Lee here. Thank you. Trey, welcome to the space. I'm glad that you're up here. How are you?
I feel good, man. I feel good. Think of me as the prodigal son because I've been a member for a long time. I just been away for a long time. I had some issues to work out.
Yeah.
On all levels.
Well, I'll
yeah.
jump in and I'll pass it right to you. Trust me when I tell you, I know that feeling. I may not know what you've been through, but I definitely know that feeling. And it has been my pleasure to keep the lights on. The hot tub in the back is ready for you, bro. I know it's hot out there, so you might want to turn it into an ice bath.
Listen, I stepped outside this morning. It's Alabama heat, man.
Listen, ooh wee.
Everybody talking about you want to come visit Alabama in July and August? No,
no, sir.
Go visit Satan. You'll be
much better there.
I do have like I'll give you like a quick life update because when I said that we was anything but simple, I was referring to classroom teaching, but I retired from classroom teaching in 2023.
Congratulations.
2023.
Hold on, let me give you a little applause for that, my bro.
I served my 8 years, and in these last 2 years, I'm not gonna lie to you, I've had a struggle, and like I said, I couldn't fight being a teacher. It's in my blood, but the short version of it, I done found myself being a dual type now. I am no longer just a teacher, but I'm something way more than a military man, hence my PTR. I'm the military educator. And recently, after some of you, I think you might have known about my job loss at a college that I was at in January. I've been looking for a job for 5 months, and finally, the marriage of military and education came about. So currently, I am a military education specialist for a private military education company. I build curriculum for all the soldiers that are learning how to use different pieces of equipment, learning procedures, so on and so on. And eventually, I will start presenting some of these to different soldiers across the branches.
Well, sir, welcome to the house. You may or may not believe that Black to Glory and I, we had the great pleasure of connecting before I opened up this room. We were talking about that very thing, not what you're talking about in particular, but this idea that teachers are leaving the classroom en masse at record rates, and B, just like you and just like me, what does that transition look like? Do you know how hard of a time I actually had to get some professional support, to kind of manage this transition from life after the classroom. But, I believe, like you, more and more teachers are ready to, dare I put this in quotes, responsibly leave the classroom, not just abandon, but, come up with an exit plan over the next, semester, 3 years, 5 years, whatever that plan looks like. And maybe the house can support these educators to think about how we could take our skill sets and convert them in other areas. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, part of the I'll tell the truth, like a lot of this I had to kind of do on my own, mostly because I had no idea. But when I got into the military and, around the time that I had lost my job, they were very persuasive about me getting, behavioral support because I was in a dark space, especially with everything that I had already dealt with. I mean, like I said, addiction was a problem in there. Lack of motivation was in there. Being burnt out, being lost. Like I even had to move. I moved to a whole different location in Alabama, and part of the reason was because I was dying. Let's just keep it real. I was dying, and so came up here to get healed, and that part was taken care of. It was so many different things that led into it. And the cool part about the job that I have now is that you have a bunch of different people that work in this company, but our entire division is made 98% of former teachers. We all have sat there and basically shared war stories about teaching during COVID.
Mm.
We talked about how the world broke a long time ago, and we were the ones that noticed it, but we couldn't do anything about it. It's like
Right.
everybody's catching up, and so we have left the assignment of classroom teaching, or say influencing from the classroom. We've left it to the new kids. I've even raised teachers myself that I taught. Like I taught kids who have become teachers now, and I told them, I said, the torch is yours now. You got to make this old man proud. I got to go sit in a rocking chair eventually and
Right.
listen to y'all come back and tell me, you know, you understand. So one of them right now, he's in constant communication with me all the time because he's always wanted to know, like, hey, I got a kid, it's fourth grade, he's got this going on. I'm like, okay, got you. So I never stopped teaching. I never stopped being an educator. The platform in which that the platform in which I do these things change, and the way that I go about doing it changes. Like I still teach Bible study. That's teaching
Mhm.
for me. I teach during my drill weekends, like once a month. I teach red and white phasers, like preparation for basic training, how to understand rake structure, how to do certain movements, how to march, how to do weapons training. Like I do a lot of training and development, and so I would tell anybody in this room right now, if you feel as if you're not an educator or a teacher because you don't exist inside the four walls of a classroom in a school, I ask you to perish that thought.
Mm.
If you are able to teach any and everything to somebody, you have that by definition you are a teacher. It's just that those of us that went into the classroom and are still there, we have a higher burden that we bear because we're directly involved with raising the next generation of successful people.
So a couple things come up for me, and then I'll pass it over to Carla. Number one, my bro, you are speaking to the choir. I and many members of our community resonate with your very lived experience, and it ain't easy out there. Number two thing that comes up for me, we're plotting and planning on our multi-part series for next season. And I think this idea of what it takes to responsibly transition out of the classroom will be a high value add. And so, if that's something that you would be interested in being a part of, we'd love to hit you in the back channel. Carla is my co-pilot here at the Educator's House, and perhaps you can drop her a back channel just so that she is well reminded, and we can start plotting and planning on what that looks like. And then third, I do want to give a special shout out to those who are still with us on YouTube. Thank you guys for holding space, and a special shout out to Leticia Wilson for keeping the chat active and keeping that community warm. So with those things said, shout out to BMT Tech Support Online, DDT. You're more than welcome to come up on stage and join the conversation. Tanisha, Fashawn as well. I'm going to invite you guys up, but what I'm doing at this time is directing attention up to the top. So Trey Lee, if you don't mind, perhaps you can take a look at the survey in the marquee and help us with our survey so that we can get some real data as we make our transition to season 5. So with all of those announcements out of the way, what I'd like to do now is pass the moderator hat over to Miss Carla, the hat is yours, and I'd love to see you guys follow up with the conversation that we started but didn't get a chance to finish. Ma'am, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to go back and go back to the concept I heard becoming put in the chat, and she said it on stage. The training starts at home, and I want to unpack that a little bit. And Kimberly would love to hear your thoughts, or anyone else who wants to weigh in, because one of the things that I was hearing was like, it's the one or two parents against an institution, so it's not easy. But I want to hear your thoughts about how doable is it. And I'll tell you a story. I volunteer at a daycare, 2 to 4 year olds, right? And there are two children in there who have special nutritional goals. One is vegan, but the mom has made eating fun. She does fun stuff. Some of the stuff tastes really good. But the thing that she does is she makes time to educate her child on the foods and what the foods will do for their body and their brain. So they make it a game and they make it fun. So I'm wanting to hear your thoughts on training and how it relates to the mindset of the parent, because as parents, we're on the go, McDonald's, Burger King, get them a happy meal and we're done. But I think there has to be a change in the fundamental thought process of the parent. And that might be one of the offerings that we look at doing at Educators House, is this food and the impact on the child's learning and behavior. So, and maybe there's an opportunity where we could take this into schools as we grow and we get really big, Hassan, where we take health training into schools and we work with the staff and the cafeteria and the teachers, because they're giving these children diagnoses when these children just have sugar highs. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I'll land and either one of you can pick up the mic. I think Becoming, you had something to say. So we'll go to Becoming, and then Kimberly, if you have something to say, and then anyone in the audience.
I think Becoming may be
Maybe Becoming can't speak right now.
right.
Kimberly, are you available to speak to that?
If not,
Okay, I see Becoming.
I can, I can jump in. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. You know what? So, excuse me. That is exactly what I think there's a need for, Carla. And what you just described is pretty much the root and the heart of where I think the work needs to begin. I know for a fact that there's a huge disconnect with the level of knowledge that a lot of parents and families feel that they can help their children, help their young people to actually not just have healthier food behaviors, but also just in the entire lifestyle, like just being healthy. And it's not just for their child, but it's also for themselves, right? There's a huge disconnect, even with all of the information that's out there. But I want to take it a step further. I believe that more of the disconnect, because a lot of times people will Google things, but it's also how to apply it, right? Which is why one of the areas that I am um, grateful to focus on is the behavioral aspect, right? We have to learn, and then we have to know how to do it, and we have to know how to sustain it over time. But I do think the example that you gave with the mom who took the time and actually made it exciting and fun, and then for the greater good of the educators house, I definitely know that there's a need, and that would be of great help to a lot of families on how to educate themselves, educate their children in all of these areas, whatever the topics are, right? Because I think that, and I'll end with this, I think that when an individual, when a family is empowered, they then can make the changes that they need to make, regardless as to what is being done at the higher levels. And that's why, Hassan, I had mentioned that even though I definitely feel that there's a need, and I can see all of the things that you all are talking about, based on my understanding of psychology and how people move or don't move, I feel like there has to be more community discussion and community education so people can actually practice what it is that they're hoping to accomplish based on their end goal. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Hassan. I saw you come off. Did you have something?
Yeah, now that I'm a regular degular, this is kind of nice. But as the parent of a school-aged child who also has dietary restrictions, he has dairy restrictions. There has been a couple things that have worked for me and a couple things that I wish. One, the capacity to strengthen my son's level of confidence in order to advocate for his own dietary needs, I think was a big issue. So on the one hand, it's cool to have, the Domino's pizza that the school forces on the kids every Friday. But once he really bought into the idea that his dietary restriction is not a disability, but a different ability, that there are things that he needs to do to advocate on his own behalf, he started to, I don't want to say, yeah, I'll say stand up for himself, and have the level of confidence to push back. And so I think that resonates a lot with what Becoming was talking about, when it comes to the messaging from the parent to the child and the child's capacity to be a self advocate. The other thing in terms of my wish is that while on the one hand, the school has, what would I call it, a legal obligation to respect the dietary needs, especially if they're medically identified, the dietary needs of the students, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have an obligation to provide those things. And so when it became pizza day, I might say, hey, could you at least buy one no cheese or vegan cheese pizza from wherever you get it from? They might say yes, but when the rubber meets the road, the lady probably forgot or whatever. And so then it becomes an issue. Or, the school will say, we respect your dietary wishes. However, you're going to need to be the one to bring that stuff into the school, and we'll be happy to distribute it or deliver it. And so, that creates an opportunity for us to, how do I say, the pizza and the corn. I'm dying. The chat is quite active. Anyway, it creates an opportunity to really test the allyship between the school as an institution and the family and the home as an institution, and the degree to which we connect. And so those are the two things that came up for me when it comes to like pushing a new dietary agenda as an individual family onto a school system. So that's what came up for me, and I'll yield back.
Do you think, Hassan, or Becoming, that the school has an obligation to do it because they have their approved guidelines of what they're serving, right? So does it not become the parent's responsibility to say, if that is not what I want my child to have, then I'm going to supplement by sending the food I want my child to have, where they bring their own lunch, until we can get to the point that we change the mindset of the policymakers such that they're buying into the healthier lifestyle. Either one of you.
Sure, I'll go first, but I'll be quick. Yes, just like in education parlance, it can be referred to as the least restrictive environment. And so, yes, I believe that the school, if not, I cannot cite specifically if they have a legal obligation. But like I said, if it's medically identified from a physician, then they do have a higher standard of expectation. And I would certainly say that they have a ethical, if not moral, obligation. But from a logistical perspective, I can understand a capacity problem, because now how many kids want to have their own special diet, right? And so, do we do the same for somebody who has a keto diet, and what must the school provide is in terms of the school's obligation. But in terms of making space and creating opportunity for a parent to do that, I think is really quite interesting. I'll close with this, and I hope others can lean in on this. When I think about many of the schools where I've taught, where you're talking about Title I schools, which means that 90% or more of the student population qualifies for free and reduced lunch. Expecting the family to put in on a healthy diet when they're already food insecure is a bit of a catch-22. It's a bit of a rock and a hard place. So it might be hard to turn that logistically into something that really could work, either on the family's side being the obligators or the school side as being obligators to really manage that. So for me, it would require a entire shift of the culture of the campus and the way that it operates to really manifest something that's properly healthy for our students. I'll yield.
Thank you. Becoming, or Kimberly, are you ready to speak yet?
Yes, I'm just trying to figure out. You guys said so much. I'm just want to see where I want to briefly touch base on.
Okay, so while she does that, um, I personally think that um, one of the areas that really just resonates with me, Carla and Hassan and everyone, is really just empowering the families, right? I think that education is lacking within the families, right? And this could be just as simple as how can a family start their own garden? How can they begin to,
Becoming, you're in the
um,
matrix.
okay, you confirm. Can you hear me now?
Say something now, please.
Better?
Yes. Yes, I heard you then. You're on mute now.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I was just going to say I would like to see more education just being done within the community and within the individual families because just like we're talking about the school's responsibilities or what they can or cannot do, I think when it boils down to it, if the families know how can they start their own garden, how can they not fall prey to the cultural norms? Um, for example, and I'm going to say this one example and just pass the mic. Within my current study that doing study over throughout the United States, there's a huge lack of understanding with even the food environment in people's own lives. So, people living throughout the United States, they don't always even know what is available to them to have a healthy food environment. And then when you add that to society norms and for example, a parent who has a child with a neurodivergent disorder or something like that, they may not know where to begin.
Hmm.
What should I feed my child? How do I manage the stress of, for example, in another study I'm doing, a child who only wants to eat um, mozzarella sticks every single day, nothing else,
Hmm.
right? What do they do? How do they manage that? So I'm saying all that to say, I really think I would love to see the educator's house look more into how to educate the individual and the family. That could be from home economics, um, food, nutrition, how to better ourselves mentally, all of those things. I could definitely see that being a strong point for you all within the communities, and it would still be very, very important to the education within our communities.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. Becoming, I did earlier when you spoke, I did jot down parental offerings because I heard you saying that. And now you've helped to elaborate more. Food offerings, health, mental health. I wrote down some things like how to communicate with your child, how to hear your child, creating a village, partnering with your child's teachers. So, this whole beefing the parents up to help support the child before they send them out and allow into the educational system, they're partnering with the teacher. So
Hmm.
thank you for that. I want to pass the mic to Kimberly, and then I'm going to pass it back to Hassan. I see we're sitting almost at the hour, so we can get ready to land the plane if you so desire. I didn't know if you wanted to go longer, but Kimberly, the mic is yours, and then to Hassan.
Thank you, thank you. Um, so yes, I definitely agree with starting at home. Um, it's definitely something that can definitely go a far way when when before we're sending our children off to the school and just to make sure that we're at least you know I feel like vitamins and nutrients have a lot to play a part because a child that is misbehaving or not having, you know, certain things that's meeting today's requirement. Could just be a magnesium deficiency, or could just be, you know, needing more copper, or needing CMOS, or needing few things for the body just to, you know, help it out to go through the day. Even just, even helping our nurses out by, giving our children elderberry or certain things to help build the immune system. Because in today's society, if your immune system isn't over 60%, you're getting prone sick every day. You're getting that phone call every day. Oh, Cindy Lou is this, and da 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 is this. And we can help make our days go better if we just, you know like you said, like do things at home that can just help into the school system, that can help our teachers. Let's not give our children, you know, red dye in the rising, and send it to them for lunch, and then expect the teacher to, you know, understand the behavior. Because red 40 has a lot of psychological things that's wrong. And if red 40 is in a lot, and a lot of people, like to do cereals, if we can find something to where, we look at certain recipes that are 3 recipes to do with your children to make the cereal, or to, like, I have a homeschool community because we homeschool our children, and one teacher, comes in, and, we all gather together at a local libraries that we're allowed to utilize, and we teach each other how to do certain recipes. And, we have certain things where, I'm the herbalist, so I teach the children how to do natural herbal supplements that's easy for their body, that they can utilize to bring the body back to normal homeostasis. And, certain things like that. We have someone that teaches, financial literacy, things like that, just certain things that can help. But also homeschooling can also help with in schooling too, certain knowing certain things how to do that they don't teach at a young age, you know um so definitely starting with home, if we can try to find the space, and to do that, even with parents that are, have 9 to 5s that feel like they can't do that with certain things because they feel so tired. We have to look at those signals for our body. Why do we feel tired? Yes, because we're probably running around all day with children, or being the typical mom and things like that. But we have to realize, did we take our vitamins today, and not vitamins that were, you know not, over the counter things, like finding natural holistic things that can help. I'm not against anything with pharmaceutical, but in today's time, certain things that are, you know that we're intaking are actually showing in a couple years down the road of complications that we are consuming. So just natural remedies to just help with that can, everyday life, even just our children, even our pets. You'll be surprised what CMOS can do for your pets. It stops a
Mm.
lot of complications for kidneys that they may have, parasites that they have in their body, just certain things like that. If we just tap more into nature, even just going outside and, instead of cutting the dandelions, why not take a picture of a dandelion and go on Google Maps, I mean, Google, and see what comes up and sees what the benefits are. And here you'll be surprised with certain medicinal uses that we have outside of our front yard. Like, red cloves is something that helps with the body that have, people that have gout. Those little flowers that pop up, take 7 or 8 of them, rinse them off, put them in a tea. Here you're removing uric acid, and you're helping yourself. We drive past our things that can help our bodies, our natural fruits. Majority of the world grows parsley outside, and here we look at it as a wheat and we're throwing it out. Our food grow right outside, you know and believe it or not, if we start, you know grounding ourselves by, like, being on the to, you know it needs certain things, you'll start growing those stuff in your front yard. But we don't know, so I'm just gonna land there.
Thank you so much. This has been really educational for me because that's one of the things that I'm focusing on is my health journey. And I do believe the Bible tells us food is medicine. God gave us everything that we need. So with saying that, I'm going to pass it over to you, Hassan, so you can begin to land the plane. Thank you everyone for your comments, your shares. Appreciate you being here in the Educator's House.
Wow, there's so much that I want to tack onto this, but I'm looking in the interest of time. Like any good teacher, I like to start on time and end on time. So what I will do as the highest priority is give a special shout out to G Wins and Taj for coming into the space. excuse me, as well as others. My dear brother RJ is up in here, and I definitely appreciate you for your support as well. This is the Educator's House. If you haven't done so, it's my deep pleasure to announce that since we have started, we have had a 900% increase in the number of people that have completed the survey at the top. There are no prerequisite requirements. You don't even have to be a member of the house. So G Wins and Taj, you pink ticket holders, you're more than welcome to. And for anyone in the chat watching us on YouTube, if you haven't done so, we'll get that link dropped in for you now or very soon so that you can also click on that link and weigh in. This Educator's House is community centered, and we center the voice of those who are here. And so we would appreciate your giving us some of that critical feedback as we develop what looks to be a really fantastic season 5. As we begin to close, I just want to give a special shout out as well to those stage mates of mine. You know, we do this for the good of the group. So for everyone who is listening, if you could spread the word and let folks know that Educator's House exists. I know it's a tough thing because there's a lot of folks and there's a lot of information out there. And so we definitely appreciate you. But you are welcome back home, especially as we get ready for season 5. And so we're glad that all of you are here, and we hope that you will continue to be sustaining parts of our community. We're going to close this room down in 5. If you haven't done so, please find 5 people that you can connect with between now and the next time we meet. Give them a small act of kindness, because as we heard from Trey Lee, you just never know how some small act may help what someone else is going through in a significant way. We're also going to close this room down in 4. We do this for you. If it was up to me, I would have had Carla and Kimberly and Black to Glory and Trey. We all could have gone on our own little private Zoom and had a fantastic conversation. But we do this for the good of the group. And so please do your part to help us get the word out. We'll be back again very soon, potentially as early as next week, Sunday. And, you know, just I'm working on it, y'all. I'm working on it. So just be nimble as we get ready for season 5. I'm going to push on to 3. We're closing this room down in 3. This is not a me thing. I hope that, as you can see, my interest is to hear the voice of the community. And so while we all might not agree and we all have a variety of perspectives and interests, all of them seem to fall under the house. And we want to turn this house into a home. And so I want to give a special shout out to the folks on stage for following the decorum and creating space for courageous honesty and transparency as we build something that is not just a mission, but a whole movement. And finally, we're going to close this room down in 2. As the humble servants, myself and my co-pilot, Carla, we are here to serve. And so if you're interested in volunteering, if you're interested in finding a way to support the house beyond just being an attendee, there are things that those of you who are in the listening lounge, there are actually things that you can do to constructively support the house. And we want you to know about those things, which may include fact checking in the chat. So if somebody makes a wild claim about how important it is to eat vegetables like broccoli and to get magnesium, go to your Google and verify that and drop us a link that supports some of the information that we're bringing. That's what really raises the quality of what we're doing here. You know, there are ways for those of you who are on the YouTube channel to do something as simple as liking, sharing, and subscribing so that the algorithm can be more friendly to this very high value content. So while we are here to serve, we want to make sure that we find ways to create space for you, our members, to not just be the passive listeners, but actively engage in the growth of our community. And finally, we're going to close this room down in 1. And guess what? It's you. You're the one. If you hear my voice, if you're looking at me eye to eye right now, I want you to know all of us have come together for you. You are the most important part to this entire process, because after this conference, you're the one that's going to go back out to your community, go back out to your family, go back out to your student or your school. And now we hope that you have a little bit more empowerment, a little bit more information so that you can start making real impact in the local area. And so between now and the next time I see you, I want to encourage you, engage in some healthy self-care, because as you give unto yourself, it's far better to give unto others of your overflow. Far too many of us as teachers, we stretch ourselves far too thin, and we give from the bottom of our bucket, and there's not enough of us pouring in and making deposits into us. And so Educators House is not just the house, but it's also the home where you can come. It is a safe space where we can come together, have community, build each other up, and engage in some real high quality conversation. And so with all of that said, I stand in deep gratitude for you all. And until next time, if you haven't figured it out, I'm going to shut down this room, which means we're going to lose the survey. So if you haven't done so, just click on the survey, open the browser over on the side, and perhaps when you can get to it later, you also can add your voice to it. But we are going to close this room down. And so I'd love to make sure that you get the opportunity, the last opportunity, with some sense of urgency to add your voice to the survey. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for us. And we will see you next time. Peace, peace, peace. Appreciate you, G Wins in the building. All right. Now that all the squares have left, let's start the after party. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody. And for my YouTube crew, I appreciate you. As Leticia said, thank you guys for joining the house. We look forward to seeing you on our return next Sunday. Peace.